Hi, welcome to our information webinar. My name is James Strong. I'm the Program Director of Asia Pacific at the College of Law. Thank you for making the time to join us this afternoon. I'll have my colleague joining us from Kuala Lumpur very shortly. Unfortunately, he's got some unexpected technical issues, so hopefully he'll be joining us very soon. But I thought that we'd get started anyway. It's 12:30, and I've got in front of me the PowerPoint slide presentation for today. So the program we're going to cover today is the Master of Laws, Applied Law in ASEAN+6 Legal Practice. And today I'm just going to give a rough overview of our program and try to answer some of your questions that you might have. So let's get underway. Okay, so this presentation will be pretty quick. So we'll be talking about what is the ASEAN+6 Legal Practice Program, who is it for, why study with the College of Law, and how our program is delivered. And lastly, we're looking at when our programs run. So we'll cover those 5 points pretty quickly. So first of all, the LLM Applied Law in ASEAN+6 Legal Practice Program. So this program is designed to meet the needs of legal professionals engaged in cross-border practice. Oh, just by the way, we've got Q&A function as well. So if you look at your screen, you should see questions and answers. Now feel free to type away and ask us any questions if you have any. And we'll try to answer them towards the end of this information webinar. Okay, and I'll take note of these questions as we go. So getting back to our program, introduction. So this program focuses on commercial cross-border practice with the 10-nation ASEAN group and the 6 nations that comprises of the ASEAN regional free trade area. So that's why it's called the ASEAN+6. So you've got Australia, New Zealand, Japan, and Korea as well. This program has been developed by the College of Law in collaboration with the Inter-Pacific Bar Association, commonly known as the IPBA. We've engaged a lot of the subject matter experts from the Inter-Pacific Bar Association, IPBA, to help us write and teach a lot of our subjects. And we've got a memorandum of understanding with the organization to move this collaboration forward. And the reason why we do this is that we wanted to engage senior, very experienced practitioners from the ASEAN region to help us develop a really practical and applied law approach to teaching our courses. So some of our subjects, there are subjects still being developed, but the ones we have already developed are M&A practice, banking and finance, IP practice, capital markets, arbitration, dispute resolution. And one thing we forgot to add there, which is recently a new one, is the international trade in the ASEAN region. And going forward, we're going to have more subjects in immigration, employment, competition law, lawyer skills, and in-house legal practice as well. So just bear that in mind if you're interested in studying further subjects in the future. And just to say that this is very similar to our current Australian ALP programs in the way that it's designed and the way it's delivered. So for those who have enrolled in our previous ALP papers, this would not come to you as a surprise. It's a very similar model of delivery taught by our experienced lecturers. So going on to the next slide, who are our programs for? So this is a common question we get all the time. So is it designed for lawyers who are very junior, or is it for lawyers who are very senior in practice, or is it for lawyers in between? Well, short answer to your question is, it's designed for everyone that's interested in our program and what they want to learn about the ASEAN+6 cross-border transactional areas. So it's really about anyone who wishes to learn more about a particular area of practice and also for those who wish to specialize in a particular area of practice in the ASEAN+6 region. And also it's designed for senior or maybe experienced practitioners who may wish to transition into a new area of practice from what they currently traditionally practice. So just in a nutshell, those are the three common type of students we get in our current programs. Now, when you enroll, just in terms of some admin prerequisites here, you've got to have an undergraduate law degree, or you could have a proof of admission as a lawyer in any jurisdiction. Currently, we have students enrolled in our programs from all over the world. To give you an example, we've got students in Vietnam, Singapore, Kuala Lumpur, Malaysia, and we've got our lecturers, and of course, we've got students from Australia as well. And our lecturers are based all over the world, very senior practitioners from Singapore, from New Zealand, from Malaysia, even people from UK and the US as well. So I think we've just got our my colleague Raphael Tay joining us. Raphael, can you hear us?
Yes.
Hi, Raphael. Now,
James, good morning. Can you see me?
Yes, I can't see you, but I can hear you. Just to let you know, Raphael, we've started the information webinar, so it's live. So
yes, thank you, James. Thank you, because in fact I was in the webinar a few minutes ago. It's just that I couldn't get the audio on.
That's fine. So I'm just going to ask you to start your video as well. I'm sure everyone wants to see your face.
Okay, got it.
Now, here we go. So people, this is my colleague Raphael Tay. Raphael is the director of our ASEAN+6 program, and he is our head of the program in terms of teaching. So Raphael also has experience teaching these programs, so I'm sure he'll be able to give you more insight about the program and how it's actually delivered online. Okay. So Raphael, just to give you a summary of what we've covered, we just on to our second slide, looking at who our program's for. You got that?
Okay.
Okay, so I've really covered those areas. Is there anything else that you want to mention here, Raphael?
Not at the moment. Well, perhaps just to recap a little bit, you know, this program is really for, like you said, the lawyers who wish to learn more about a particular subject area, or is trying to specialize in a particular subject area, or even transitioning to a subject area. But what I found in particular for this program, many of the lawyers that have signed on are people either in practice who want to do Southeast Asian regional cross-border work, or people that are in-house. In fact, we had a general counsel out of Singapore who had part of his role was to do cross-border regional work, joint ventures, M&As, and so forth. And I think he signed on, and he's gained quite a bit from that.
Very good. Yeah. Okay, so we'll just go on to the next slide. So why study with the College of Law? So I think I mentioned a little bit earlier, this is very similar to an existing ALP Australian program. So it's a very interactive online study. You can study anywhere, anytime, in any circumstances. And we focus on the study of practical law and non-academic law. So I think this is where we're quite different from other law schools in that we don't focus on academic side of things, but really on the practical law. And this goes down to the whole philosophy of the College of Law and how we deliver education. And I think it's important to note here is that all of our lecturers are practitioners. All of our subject matter experts, the people who write the program for us, are people that are currently in practice. So it's important that we focus on this practical law aspect opposed to academic law. Would you agree, Raphael?
Absolutely, James. I think one of the the principal methods of teaching is information, demonstration, and application. So first of all, we provide the information. Secondly, we demonstrate how it's to be done and what should be done. And finally, we show the students how to apply what has been gained from the information and demonstration. So it's really, just remember this: information, demonstration, and application. So that's how we teach this course.
And just to give us an example, how would you demonstrate a practical aspect of law in the course?
Okay, a good question, James. Primarily, there are, of course, course notes, reference materials, which the students will read prior to that particular week. And having done the readings, there's always an assignment of some sort. The assignments varies, but it's very practical assignments. Typically, it will be assignments that a partner in your firm or senior partner in your firm would ask associates to do. For example, could be things like just prepare a term sheet, heads of agreements based on certain facts, or you could be asked to do an assignment whereby you have a visiting client from let's say from Hong Kong who wants to invest in the particular jurisdiction, let's say for argument's sake, say in Vietnam. So the assignment would be your senior partner has just asked you to prepare a deck of 10 slides to tell the Hong Kong investor what they need to know about investing in Vietnam and the legal framework, for example. Yeah. So it's very, very practical. So these are some of the assignments. Some of the other assignments we do maybe is to write a memo to a client with regards to certain issues which they have faced in that jurisdiction. So it's very practical, James.
Yeah, thanks for that. And I think other examples of these assignments that Raphael just mentioned also include writing an advice to your clients on a legal issue as well. So a lot of these also, we try to actually teach a lot of the practical skills. So we won't just say, write a memo to your managing partner about this issue. We'll also give you some guidance about how to write an effective memo as well. So,
yeah, James, just to butt in at this juncture. Not only are guidance notes for it, very often in the one-to-one or in the classroom situation, face-to-face time, we may run through some of these assignments and provide feedback. So that's a very important component of this course.
And I think one of the feedback I had from our former students, Raphael, is that the student felt like she was actually being taught by her senior partner or a managing partner as if it was in a law firm. So a lot of the cases that she was dealing with in our studies, she felt like that she was actually within a real life law firm setting where she was being given feedback by her supervisor. So that's the way it's been designed to go.
Yeah, absolutely. Just perhaps to add on that, we have case studies as well whereby facts are given, and the students are encouraged to pick up certain issues and then write a memo to the client about some of these issues. So that happens as well.
Excellent. Okay, so like we mentioned, you've got support, feedback, and guidance for your lecturer. So every subject that you enroll in our program, there'll be a lecturer assigned to it. So these are adjunct lecturers like Raphael. He is a very experienced practitioner in Southeast Asia, and we've got other lecturers that I told you about earlier, who are also very experienced. So you're not on your own. So it's not a formal study where it's a self-study. You'll be each week or each fortnight, we'll have web conferences where you and the lecturer and other colleagues or classmates can discuss some of the issues that's given to you at that particular week. So just bear in mind that you're not on your own. Just because it's an online study, it doesn't mean that you've got to do you're on your own. You're always helped by your adjunct lecturer, who's always there to answer your questions via email, web conference, and so forth. Okay, two last things I wanted to cover is everything you need for the course is provided online, on your computer. So we won't be sending you any hard copy materials. You don't have to carry around these big fat law textbooks, which you used to at law school. Everything is easily accessible online, on your computer, tablet, mobile phone, whichever you choose. And we've got a very extensive online library, which is updated with the latest case studies from the ASEAN region as well. The last point I want to cover is why study with the College of Law. We have a strong reputation in Australasia. We've got about 5,000 students undertake every year in Australia and New Zealand. And we're now expanding that outside Australia and New Zealand into Asia. And like I said, we've got students based in Singapore, currently Kuala Lumpur, Vietnam, and also I said in Australia as well. Okay, I think those are our students, right, Raphael? So going on to the next slide, how our programs deliver. I think we covered this quite a bit, Raphael.
Yes.
We're using a state-of-the-art online learning platform. Like I said, you can access this via PC, tablet, mobile phone. It's a Canvas platform, very easy to use, user-friendly, and pretty fast as well. So we haven't had any complaints about, the slowness of the actual learning platform. So that should be quite easy to navigate. I think the next one is learn by doing. And this is what Raphael talked about, practical exercises. And I think this is one of the key elements of our program. Everything that we've made and created for this program is practical, based on practical exercises. We talked about lecturer support and feedback. Now, for any queries in regards to your work, late assignments, for example, first talk to your lecturer. Any admin side of things, you can talk to our student liaison officer. In terms of you wanting to maybe withdraw, you've got some personal issues, that's when you talk to Raphael and myself. But in terms of the actual support, you've got full lecturer support in terms of the program. We mentioned earlier about the participating weekly web conferences. Now, this might change to weekly or bi-weekly conferences, depending on your lecturer. And the lecturer will be in touch with you at the very start of this program and tell you or instruct you to how to go about and joining and participating in these web conferences in the program. We also have some group discussions. Now, this is a group discussion with, amongst the students who are enrolled. Some people find it useful. Some people prefer the web conferences. It's either or kind of option. So you can either go for the web conference, but if you happen to miss it, there's also the group discussion option, which you can join later on. Now, I think I just had a question saying, are web conferences mandatory? Raphael, yes or no?
Well, I won't say it's mandatory, but I think it's very important because it's part and parcel of that learning process. Because many of the things, well, assignments you can do on yourself, but the feedback, the real-time feedback, the emotions, the passion that's poured into it needs that face time. And I think if I'm not mistaken, there are some assignments that require you to present as though you're presenting a deck of slides to some clients. So the face time is important. I wouldn't say it's mandatory, but it's very important, save and except for those assignments that require you to have that.
Very good. And I think just echoing what Raphael said there is that web conferences are not mandatory. So you can still pass without attending these, but we highly recommend that you actually attend these because it's for your own benefit.
Yes.
And people who are enrolled in these programs are not doing it to pass an exam to get admitted to a badge or a jurisdiction. You're really doing this to learn. So if you really want to learn and get the most out of this program, we highly recommend that you make time for these web conferences. And each web conference will be allocated a time and a date. And so please try your best to attend these. Now, we do understand we might have students from all over the world, so we'll try to come to a mutual time that's maybe most convenient for the students that are enrolled, as well as the lecturer, because the lecturer, you put a lecturer in Chicago, for example, and it's really hard to make time, but we'll make that a time which is practical and convenient for people. So try to make these web conferences.
Yes, James, perhaps I could just add that, because a lot of the instructors, a lot of the lecturers are sometimes willing to hold separate sessions for separate groups of students because of timing. So I myself have done that sometimes because of unforeseen circumstances. Some students just can't be online at a particular time. If it's important enough, sometimes I will encourage them to say, look, I'm prepared as a lecturer to avail myself to them at a time that's convenient to them. So, we do try to do that as well, James.
Yeah. Now, having said that, only if you get a nice lecturer like Raphael, he'll offer that. But there's nothing, in terms of the lecturer, the lecturer's engaged to offer one web conference per unit, okay? Now, some lecturers like Raphael, he will try to make time when he can. Now, just bear in mind, people, that these lecturers are very busy. They're senior practitioners. They take their time, they make time in their busy diaries to make time for these web conferences. So it's really hard trying to get extra time for these lecturers to accommodate those who can't attend. So, yeah, it's an option, but it's something that you're going to talk to your lecturer about. But it's not always available. But thanks
That's
for
true.
Raphael. Thank
Yeah.
you. Now, the assessments. Now, good thing that you'll know is that there are no exams, no written exams. Great. We talked about all students are assessed by doing. So our assessments are comprised of written, oral, and portfolio assessments. Now, Rafa, could you perhaps explain a bit more about these assessments and how they are conducted online with the students?
Okay, every week there's an activity, and some weeks are assignments that are marked, and some weeks they're just an activity. So for the assignments that are marked, students would submit their assessment, their assignments weekly onto Canvas. And then it is marked. If the lecturer is not satisfied with what has been done, we drop a note to the student and tell the student, look, what the areas that needs perhaps beefing up, where the areas that needs to be addressed and so forth. And the student gets another chance to do it again. Really, like you say, James, it is by doing it repeatedly, improving on each time that they submit an assignment, the same assignment, until they get it right. There is a cutoff date, of course, and that is at the end of the course. So at the end of that subject, they must have whatever has been submitted would be evaluated and marked. But during the duration of that, they can submit multiple times. So really, the multiple times is really not so much so that they will pass, but they will improve on skills that we're trying to impart to them, so that at the end of the day, they would have reached a standard that is required of the college, by the college rather.
Yeah, very good. Thanks for that. So assessments, they come towards the end of the course. So the course is delivered over a 12-week period, and the exams come, or not, sorry, the assessments, sorry, come at weeks 10, 11, and 12 towards the end. But having said so, you have the activities, like Raphael said, throughout the other weeks, which add up into the portfolio assessments.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so going forward, when our programs run, so we have 4 intakes. So not the traditional 2 semesters like universities, but we have 4 12-week intakes starting in February, May, August, and November. So our next one is starting intake for 2019 will start next month. So if anyone is interested, you can still enroll. But otherwise, the next one beginning to 2020 would be in February next year. Students can enroll in whichever intake is most suitable for them. We recommend that you don't enroll in more than 2 subjects per intake. Would you agree with that, Raphael?
Oh, absolutely. James, I think it is very important to inform students that whilst typically you can take any number you want to take at a time, I think realistically you can't do more than 2, particularly if you are working full time as well. In fact, some students struggle just with doing 1, but it all depends on their workload. But if you're committed to it, you are fine. But really, you're right, no more than 2.
Okay, very good. Thank you, Raphael. So like Raphael said, a lot of our students are those who are currently in practice. You've got to also consider, family commitments. You might have a young family like myself and trying to balance work and life is hard. So maybe 1, maximum 2 subjects per intake. And I think the official restriction is maybe up to 3 subjects. So you can if you want to, but it's not recommended, okay? And like I said earlier, you want to be learning by doing these subjects and not just because of trying to get a grade. So just bear that in mind, please. Now, to qualify for the Master of Applied Law program, you've got to complete a total of 8 subjects. You can take 8 subjects from our existing ASEAN+6 program, and you can also combine them with the current existing ALP program as well. So, but if you want to get a major in the ASEAN+6 legal practice program, you must take 4 of the subjects from our ASEAN+6 program, and the remaining 4, you're free to choose from any other ALP program. Okay. Now, if you start in our program but decide to say pull out halfway through, I think if you do 4 subjects, you can get a graduate diploma. If you do 2 subjects, you get a certificate. So if you pull out early, it doesn't mean that you're not going to get anything. You'll get something, but for a full LLM, you need 8 subjects. Like I said earlier, 12-week program covering modules and assessments. And please check our website to confirm subject availability for each intake. Not all subjects are available each intake. We kind of mix them up a bit. So just check that on our website, or if you email us, we'll send you all the information brochures that's needed for our 2020 program. Okay, so hang on, next slide. So like I said, further information about programs, visit our website, www.collaw.com, or email us at collasia@collaw.edu.au. Now, that concludes the formal presentation that we've prepared for today. And I see that we've got quite a number of questions. Now, I think the first question, Raphael, is directed to you. Now, is India covered in our program?
Sorry?
Is India covered in our program, in our ASEAN program?
India is covered, but it is not in details because, as you would appreciate, James, there's 10 ASEAN countries plus 6 other countries. So there is a lot of countries, but in every program, in every course, there will be topics that would relate to some of these countries. Yes, so the answer is yes, but don't expect it to be heavily geared to India or heavily geared to Australia or heavily geared to one particular country. We are trying to cover as many countries as we can, but many of the principles, James, I think this is very important, many of the principles of doing cross-border work is the same. So applying it is what's important. Looking for information, looking for what the law says is something that we expect every lawyer to be able to find, right? So that's why the importance of a particular country per se is not as important as what we try to do is we group countries of civil law countries, common law countries, and those that are a mixture, socialist civil law countries, so that you typically you have a sampling of all the countries and all the jurisdictions within this ASEAN+6. So that's really how I would answer it, as opposed to, do you cover this country? Do you cover that country? But it's the principles that you're learning.
Very good. Thanks for that. Hopefully that has answered the attendees' question. If you have any further questions, feel free to type away now. We can see them on the screens. We'll try to answer them on the spot. We've got a couple of more questions. I think we cover this. In this program, am I required to be physically attending classes in Australia? The answer is, Raphael, as you and I both know, no, not at this stage. All of our learning is done online. You do have to attend the web conferences, but you don't have to physically be in Australia to attend any face-to-face classes. However, there is a graduation option, which is currently only held in Sydney, Australia. So if you are one of our graduates, I think we're having our first graduate of our LLM College Asia program next month in Sydney. So she's coming all the way from Malaysia. But you don't have to, but it's an option that's open to our students who wish to attend the ceremony in person. Now, next question for you, Raphael. I travel a lot with my job. How can I communicate with my lecturer?
That's easy. With web conferencing and with other means of modern day communication, you can do it all the time anywhere. I myself do sometimes even communicate with students via WhatsApp, and so it's easy. So distance and travel is not an issue.
And I think depending on your lecturer, I think the first four means of communication should be your lecturer's email. But also, I think some of the lecturers also share their mobile or their WhatsApp or any form of app communications as well. So it just really depends on the lecturer and yourself. The next question, maybe this is for you, Raphael, as a lecturer. Can my lecturer help me with employment opportunities in the Asia region?
Well, that's not part of the syllabus. I guess most of your lecturers will be happy to discuss, not necessarily with their firms, but discuss the legal landscape, the opportunities that are available in the region, from what they know, from their travels, from their contacts and networks. So I think that's possible, but we don't strictly give career guidance as part of the syllabus. I can tell you that, for example, I have counseled students when they have asked me what is it like to relocate to Vietnam or to Cambodia or to Thailand and to work there. So we tell them some of the opportunities that are available in some of these countries, where typically will be law firms, local law firms, regional law firms, and so forth. So from that aspect we do, but we don't do full-scale, full-on career guidance, counseling, or look for job opportunities in that sense.
So just, it sounds like, Raphael, that our lecturers offer some form of kind of mentoring for our students as well. Not just based on pure practical training education, but when need be, your lecturer will be, and depending on your lecturer, would be happy to share his experiences, his knowledge about maybe the current legal market opportunity in a particular jurisdiction.
I think, James, most of the lecturers would be amenable and happy to mentor to some extent and to answer some of these questions.
Absolutely. But just bear in mind that our lecturers are not recruiters, so we can't be offering you jobs or referring you to job opportunities. But feel free to ask questions about, careers if you need to. Okay, thanks, Raphael. Do you offer scholarships for the ASEAN+6 program? Short answer is no, not at this stage. It might be something we might look forward to in the future, but no. Next question. Is the LLM ASEAN program helpful for my PhD study in the future? So I think this is a student maybe thinking of doing a PhD after doing our LLM ASEAN+6 program. What do you think, Raphael?
Well, I think it's a slightly difficult question to answer because in many universities, to qualify to be accepted as a candidate, a PhD candidate, they have their own systems, their own entry requirements. But I would say that this LLM program really is, like we have stated many times in the past, it is not an academic study type, pass your exams type LLM program. It is really to upskill, improve practical skills to ensure that you are ready for regional cross-border work. Is to prepare you to do that. So those that enroll on this LLM program wouldn't be thinking of doing a postgraduate a PhD, for example. So it caters to a different type of student who is more interested in the practical aspects of practice and how to be, to be able to do cross-border work, for example, on the go. So it's slightly different.
Yeah, and just to let everyone know, the College of Law has a university status. We are called the College of Law, but we have self-accrediting authority. So we're actually the same status as a university. So I think if you're thinking of enrolling in a PhD program later in the future, we'll have to first of all check with that university. But as far as our status go, we are equivalent to a university in Australia. Just bear that in mind. But thanks for that, Raphael.
You're welcome.
Okay. Do you recognize any prior learning or legal work experience as credit in this course? Now, I'll answer this question, Raphael. If you are a former College of Law TLT graduate, you do get credit towards the LLM program. So that's a benefit. But if you're a practitioner from, say, elsewhere, say, e.g. Singapore, you won't get the equivalent credit as a TLT student, former. Having said so, this is on a case-by-case basis. So if you have formal studies in, Master of Laws degree, just talk to us and get your qualifications assessed by us, and then we'll determine whether or not you can have any credits accounted towards your LLM program at the College of Law. Raphael, next question is for you. Am I eligible for memberships in the legal sector in Asia with this program? So I think this is talking about if you enrolled in our program, we are offering the IPBA membership. Now, the IPBA, I think I mentioned a little bit earlier in our presentation, Inter-Pacific Bar Association. And just before you came online, Raphael, I did explain how we've got this partnership collaboration arrangement with the IPBA in helping us to develop and deliver and market our programs in the Asia Pacific region. So like I said earlier, if you enroll in our ASEAN+6 program, you will get a complimentary membership towards the organization IPBA. Now, Raphael, I understand you're actively involved in the IPBA. Can you perhaps tell us, in your own experience, what IPBA is about and the benefits of being part of this organization?
Sure, James, thank you. The IPBA, which stands for the Inter-Pacific Bar Association, is an association of lawyers, academics, and people in the law, involved in the law of this region and in this region. But many of our delegates come from far and wide, many of the delegates come from, as far as the States, the United States, from Europe and so forth. But it's a very interesting organization, and I would encourage those that think about practicing cross-border work in this region to become members or at least attend those conferences. It is apolitical. It is a business legal forum which delegates come and many of the issues are debated on, discussed, papers presented, and so forth. But it is also a very good form of networking. Those of you who are looking for job opportunities, I dare say that the IPBA is fairly good because you meet many other lawyers from other jurisdictions. You meet many senior lawyers as well. But IPBA is very different because you have senior lawyers attending, as well as you have fairly junior lawyers. You have fairly young associates attending as well, because of some of the programs that IPBA has come up with. So you get a very good mix. So for those that ask the question whether about job opportunities, on hindsight, I think the IPBA is a fairly good avenue to network and to build your own bridges and connections. So I think that's quite good. Yes, James, like James has mentioned before, the College of Law has, in collaboration with IPBA, come up with this program, and it's a part of their strategy as well. And we are happy to work with them as a college. I think the IPBA is a good networking association of lawyers in the region.
Mm.
Yeah.
And if you are someone enrolled in our ASEAN+6 program, it's obvious that you're definitely interested in the ASEAN region. If you want to take it one step further, like Raphael said, as a lawyer, networking is imperative in your career. And from our experience, IPBA, it's a good size, good mix of people from the Asia Pacific region, or those who are interested in the Asia Pacific region. So we encourage you to take the opportunity to take the complimentary membership. It doesn't give you a complimentary pass to the annual conference. You've got to, of course, pay for that yourself or your firm, but it gets you into the door and makes introduction to the organization. So just bear that in mind. Now, the next question we have is, how much does it cost? This is included in our information brochure. Now, currently this year, it's $3,300 Australian per subject. This will be reviewed and our new information will go out shortly. So just we'll notify our students or prospect students when this is updated. So we'll send everyone who's attended this presentation today a copy of our latest information brochure with all this information included. Next one. Now, this is another admin question. If you do 4 ASEAN+6 subjects and other 4 LLM subjects, what does that mean? Do you get 2 majors? The short answer is no, you get 1. So when I mentioned the 4 subjects, so 8 subjects in total to get an LLM. Now from the 8 subjects, 1 is actually a major project, meaning it's like a dissertation or a thesis at the end. So you've got to do 4 subjects of the ASEAN program plus a major project. So, sorry, maybe I should clarify that earlier, but you can only do 1 major, which is either ASEAN or the Australian ALP. Now, just bearing in mind, if you're currently enrolled in the Australian ALP program, you can also take, say, 1, 2, or 3 subjects from our ASEAN+6 program as well, which will all be included in your ALP program. Raphael, question for you. I don't have a law degree or any legal background. Can I be enrolled in single subject that I'm interested in? Now, before you answer, you can enroll in a single subject if you're a non-lawyer. Like if you don't have a law background, you can, but you will not be qualified as a LLM candidate or a graduate at the end. And some of our students who may be in other areas other than law study single subjects just to get a better understanding of a particular area. For example, you might be a consultant doing transactions for clients in the ASEAN region, and you wanted to know a bit more about introduction into the ASEAN, say, M&A transaction, for example. Would that make sense, Raphael?
Yes, absolutely. You're right. Yeah, because this course is, some of our students are not law graduates, but have an interest in wanting to know a little bit more to enhance their own self-learning. So they would enroll in single subjects, and I think they have benefited from that as well. So yes, totally agree with you, James.
Okay, got one more question. What happens if I change my mind and decide not to continue after the intake has commenced? You have about 2 weeks, you have 2 weeks actually, to decide whether or not you wish to continue. So by end of week 2, you have to decide whether you want to pull out or postpone your study for the next intake. Just to give you a rough idea, I think week 1, module 1, Raphael, is quite introductory. So it kind of gives you a chance to get to know your lecturer, get to know how to navigate through our Canvas platform, the learning platform, and get an introduction to the actual program itself. And I think from week 2, Raphael, please correct me if I'm wrong, is when you actually get into the essence of the actual subject itself. So
that's correct. Yes.
So you've got to decide by end of week 2, Friday, and whether or not you wish to continue. So you've got that 2-week leeway if you wish to postpone. And I think one of the questions is for you, Raphael, is this a difficult program? Maybe some feedback we have from our former students, Raphael.
I don't think it is a difficult program because the assumption is you already have an LLB, you're a qualified lawyer, you are in practice. So from that aspect, it's not a difficult program. What is difficult, and perhaps some people underestimate the time needed and required. So that is probably the hindrance more than anything else. It is not a difficult subject. It's not a difficult program, but it is a program that needs your inputs. It's a program that needs you to be wholeheartedly involved in it. So in other words, there's no such thing as I'll be delinquent, I won't attend, I won't read. Because you don't attend and you don't read any of the references to notes, there is no way you're going to be able to do your assignments. So it is, so you have to look at this course as something as you want to do it. It's self-learning. There'll be lecturers who will be mentoring you, instructing you, assisting you, helping you. But if you yourself don't want to devote the time to it, or cannot devote the time to it, then it becomes very difficult. Whereas if you devote the time to it, many of the students say, they have to devote at least 5 hours a week to it, reading the materials, thinking about it, and so forth. But it's not 5 hours in one go. I mean, it could be an hour daily, for example. So those that are committed to it, I think, don't find it too difficult. So the short answer really is not difficult unless you don't put in hours.
So I think you're right, Raphael. We haven't designed this course so to make it difficult for you to pass. It's really designed to help you become or develop yourself as a better lawyer, if I can put it that way, Raphael.
Absolutely, you're right.
So you should be really studying with us if you want to improve your legal skills, knowledge, and the practical application of the law as well. So it's not just merely for trying to pass an examination or assessment for the benefit of getting an LLM degree. It's not designed to make you fail. As long as, like Raphael said, if you put in the time and the effort, it should be okay. But having said, there's no easy walk in the park, right? So you've got to read, study, have some questions prepared. Now, one of the feedbacks we had from some of the lecturers is that some of the students expect the lecturer to do all the talking, to provide all the knowledge within the web conferences. Now, if that's not that's not the case at the College of Law. Okay, the web conferences, and you could probably add more here, Raphael, is that you've got to be interactive. For you to really learn and get the most out of this, you've got to be engaging, ask questions, have questions ready so you can ask them at the web conferences. And the lecturer will be picking on you, well, I want to say asking you at the web conferences, certain questions as well. So please be ready and please be engaged.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
I was just going to add that you're right, James. This is not a lecture style program, of course. It has to be is engaging. It is practical. So as lecturers, we expect students to come with questions, come with input, come and share their own experiences and say, look, you know, that's how I've done it. Why is it not right? I mean, so there's a lot of critique, not criticism, but critique going along, so that we all the students get to hear what other students think and say, and therefore improve one another's application of what they have learned.
Mm. Yeah. And you'll find that through the web conferences, you'll learn from not just from the lecturer, but also from interacting with your peers as well. So
yes, absolutely.
Use all of those opportunities to get the most out of this program. It's designed in a way for you to learn by doing, opposed to just applying to academic models of study. Last question I have on here is, can I take a study break in between intakes? Yes, you may do intake 1 and decide, wow, that was hard. You can take intake 2 off and then come back in intake 3 or 4. That's really up to you. There's no restrictions on you having to continue each intake.
James, except that the LLM must be completed in 5 years?
Correct. So you can't do one subject and later 5 years down the track, oh, I'm going to do it all now. You're going to be running out of time. So if you could kind of plan, if you decide to go full LLM, plan it within that 5-year time frame. But having said so, try not to take too many long breaks in between, just because you kind of lose touch with your, ways of studying and the habit. And I think from my own experience, I think you've got to build a habit of studying. And the students who study with us are usually practitioners. So trying to get this habit, routine, schedule going, it takes time. So you don't want to be breaking that routine, having to restart all over again. So maybe you can take a break if you really need to, but we encourage you to not take a long break, if that makes sense. So I think those are all the questions we received. Raphael, do you have any other, say, advice, suggestions for our future students?
James, I think I'm excited about this course, and I would tell students and associates and lawyers that want to do cross-border work in the region to really do it, because you'll get a lot of this program. You would learn a lot, you would experience a lot, and out of this course, you'll come up being much better equipped to take on cross-border work. It's exciting.
Very. Raphael, just one more question has popped in. They said, why focus on ASEAN+6? So I think the students are asking, why is the program focused on ASEAN+6 and not generically in, say, international law? You'll find if you say, I Googled LLM International, and you get about 200 hits, right? Not many focus on the ASEAN+6 jurisdiction, or the region, sorry. So the question is, why focus on ASEAN+6?
Okay, good question, James. A couple of reasons. International M&A for a long time has been focusing in America. In America and in Europe. With increased globalization, with increased trade in this part of the world, particularly because of China and ASEAN, global M&A is shifting towards this part of the world. Number one. Number two, there are lots of international M&As or international programs, but very few that actually focus on the region. And why is it important to focus on the region? Apart from business, pure business, because the region is made up of many different jurisdictions with different types of laws. So you have the civil law jurisdictions, you have the common law jurisdictions, you have a combination of socialist and civil law, for example. So the differences within this area itself is great, huge differences. And that's why this course was designed primarily to assist those that want to practice in this area, this part of the world. You know, Vietnam is now a hot topic, it's a hot investment area, country, jurisdiction. But if you look at the Vietnamese laws, it's really a combination of socialist type rules, as well as civil law type jurisdictions. So that's why the course has been designed to familiarize students to these differences in jurisdictions. We don't teach the law, we teach students, we instruct students to be able to apply the laws. You know, the processes of coming to a decision, a strategy, an acquisition, in an acquisition, for example, it is far more important than what the law says, because the law is something that we all can find out, Google, check with local councils, but it is how the questions to ask, the process in which the processes and the familiarization of the differences within this huge area that's more important, which means you'll be taught of what questions to ask, the relevant questions. You know, for common law jurisdictions, for example, James, very quickly, just an example, spousal consent. You know, if you did an acquisition and if Mr. ABC is the registered owner of the shares, in common law jurisdictions, typically he is the registered owner, he's a legal owner, he's a beneficial owner. All rest in him. But there are some jurisdictions in this part of the world that, notwithstanding that the shares are registered in Mr. ABC's name, if he's married, spousal consent is required before the transfer can be done. No, so these are the things that we flush out. And so students become aware of the possibility of these things so that they know what questions to ask when they're doing regional work. So I think that is an example of common law students not realizing the other world or the other civil law world. Yeah. So I think these are some of the things that we assist students in familiarizing themselves and understanding that there are wider issues to be considered.
Very good example there, Raphael. Thank you very much for your explanation. Now, I think we've come to our time. That's exactly an hour on the dot. So I think we'll end it there. Now, on the PowerPoint slide, we have our contact information, myself and Raphael Tay, our email addresses. Please feel free to contact us if you need to. Any questions, let us know. And you've got our generic collasia@conlaw.edu.au address as well. So I think we'll finish it here for today. If you have any following questions, email us. Thank you very much once again for your time. Thank you, Raphael, for your time. I know you're 2 hours behind, early start for you, but thank you, everyone. And we look forward to hearing from you shortly.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Thanks, James.
Thank you.